Yo, bro, wanna do some Locktober and lock in at the gym?
Are we doing that again? They're probably not doing it this year because they're all raptured on Tuesday.
Hello, and welcome back to
What's Safeword?
I'm Am.
I'm Mr. Christopher.
And today,
I'm locked up.
And I'm locked in because today we're talking about Locktober, or the month of chastity that happens in October, but we're also celebrating it year-round and talking about some mishaps and mayhem, no gaga needed. I think Locktober is the spirit of locking your bits behind some bars or in some sort of device that makes it impossible to get off fully.
I mean, you can pleasure yourself other ways, but you can't use your bits for it.
The bits! The bits!
And of course, we couldn't do today's video without our sponsor, Kink 3D, who are the leaders in comfortable chastity.
This is the cage that I can actually stay locked for an entire month in.
And so today we're gonna talk through some stories, mishaps, and misadventures that you guys have been through as you responded to my tweet asking for some of your chastity stories that might not have been perfect. But first, let's get into our very first of 4 steps. I find 4 steps is perfect. 5 steps, too many. We're giving you 4 steps, 4 different steps. I'm gonna show you how to start, maybe some problems that people have encountered in the past, and some best practices, whether you are locking someone up, being locked up, or you're just kind of figuring out where you might fall on that spectrum.
When do you make amends?
I mean, not just men can enjoy chastity play. Roll that title card. So the first step to any chastity journey is usually just getting started. Where did you first start with chastity?
I started when I had a dom who put me in a cage that had just come out called the Holy Trainer. An innovative 2-piece design that had an interlocking key to it. It was kind of the first one of that kind. And I liked it because it was really comfortable. I did have a big problem putting it in, sliding it in, because the edges were a little sharp and I would pinch the top of my bits when I did it, so I had to be very careful with my skin.
And I started with a CB, which if you know about CB 6000s or the curves or the 2000, there's tons of numbers and the numbers never really made sense. And that one had a really nice plastic down the center, but as I'm sure we'll find out in today's pitfalls, people don't love that.
I didn't like it because there was so many parts to it, and you lost them. I lost them all the time.
But when I first got started, it was new, different. I wasn't really sure how to feel about it as a sub who had been locked up the first time, because I'd always seen online like people being like, oh, we're gonna lock you up and then you're not gonna do, and it always seemed a little scary. So let's get into your guys' mishaps and misfortunes and turn those lemons into lemonade with the first experience from Adir, who says, I learned that my skin had to build up a wear for a cage. I'd get problems after 3 days or so and would be forced to take a break. I found that starting with 8 hours every other day, then 12 hours every other day after for a week, slowly increasing that time. Also, cage cream is very useful.
Well, I would say if you've never tried chastity for the first time, go slow. Make your goals incremental and just start by 24 hours. Building up is important, but also moisturizing. If you don't moisturize it, it's gonna start to itch and hurt.
Moisturize me, moisturize me.
Most people will say that the worst problem is the underball pain, and for that, I moisturize 2 to 3 times a day when I'm wearing chastity full time. The next mishap here from Jay says, I had a big mishap, yes. I was casually shopping for snacks to take with me and was wearing a pink cage underneath my shorts, with no underwear too.
How pretty.
When suddenly, I felt the cage slip off entirely in the middle of a busy aisle. To prevent it from dropping in front of everyone, I had to keep my hand in my pocket as to not look like I was grabbing my crotch while running through the whole store trying to find the restroom. Sure enough, the ring size was too big and sadly, I had left the keys at home. I explained the situation to my dom and thankfully, they were understanding.
Yeah, and most key holders are going to be understanding about mishaps unless they're not human, because mishaps happen. And especially when you're locking something around your junk, everyday wear, life happens, and if your ring's too small, it's gonna fall off.
Which is why finding the right size ring is really helpful and useful, and I think Kink 3D is one of the best ones for that, because you can actually interchange the ring with the head when you try to find a size. Finding that perfect ring is almost like finding a cock ring, but you want it just a little bit tighter than your normal fit so that it stays for long periods and it doesn't slip off. I've actually had a ring fall off once while on a road trip with you, and I just remember screaming bloody murder as you're driving to Kylie Minogue and you turn and you're like, oh, my cage just slipped off. And it just happened to be the way I was sitting for a long period of time, plus the fact that my balls were probably really comfortable and I was moisturized. That's why it's important to have that ring to be the proper size. Similarly, Himbo Bimbo Bowl. Say that 5 times fast.
Himbo Bimbo Bowl, Himbo Bimbo Bowl, Himbo Bimbo Bowl, Himbo Bimbo Bowl, Himbo Bimbo Bowl.
Oh, you almost had it. You almost had it. Says, I had to take a cage off at work before an impromptu doctor visit one time, and the head kind of flung off onto the floor out the stall. It doesn't really look like anything on its own if you didn't already know. So the other guy didn't notice. Have you ever had a mishap in front of someone?
I have done this with not only cages, but with ball weights, with cock rings, with anything that slips off and falls. So if that happens, just say to the other guy, hey, can you hand me my key ring?
The ring of a chastity device, no matter which device, yes, kind of looks like a key ring, but if the head pops off, really? What key is that?
Well, that's you know those toilet keys with something big and dangly on it? That's what that is. It's so you don't lose your keys.
While rings are really important to find the size around, I would almost argue that the head is the most important part to size properly. If it's not a snug fit, it's gonna feel weird, it's gonna kind of chafe in a strange way, and it's not gonna feel right.
And remember, if you like it, better put a ring on it.
Okay, Beyonce. But of course, we could not do today's episode without our wonderful sponsors who are not only keeping us locked down, but keeping our lights on, Kink 3D. And we are not only excited to work with them, but we've worked with them for many years because we like their cages even before they've been a sponsor.
It's been my favorite ever since.
Locktober is not only upon us, but Chastity has been named 2025's Fetish of the Year, and Locktober is the perfect time to try this wonderful kink.
And what is amazing about them is that you can downsize the cages easily and keep the ring that you originally had. So once you have that ring that fits you, you can get all sorts of different sizes and colors. They make it so easy. Not only do they make it so easy on their website, but they go to almost every event where you can try it on in person, and that is so important. And they always have a professional that will help you get the perfect cage.
Not to mention, they have shops in San Francisco, New York, Chicago, London, Berlin, and you can try those cages in person with someone who knows how it works. It can be daunting to try it on by yourself.
And that's what makes Kink 3D so special, because they're the only company that has that personal service option. I don't know any other company that does that.
But what I like best is they also have a dye-free PA12 nylon, so it's safe for sensitive skin as well. All that to say though, we hope you guys are having a wonderful October, and we want you to know that Kink 3D is running a special promo right now where you can use offer code WATTS at kink3d.com/watts to get a free nether nudger with a full Viper or Cobra Cage set.
Thank you, Kink 3D,
for not only keeping us locked up this wonderful season, but giving us some of the most comfortable devices I have ever worn. And speaking of the right chastity device, Brief Pleasure says, I once bought a Soulmate Bluetooth-enabled chastity device, and after locking it up, couldn't get it off or reconnect to the app.
So that's why I never want to use these, is because I have a problem even connecting my Bluetooth speakers. Can you?
You have a problem with any Bluetooth.
I know, I have a problem with technology. So this is not a good idea for me.
We've tried every chastity device out there, from Carrera belts, which you own.
I do own a Carrera belt.
To the Cellmate Bluetooth device right now that I have here that is blinking red. I don't know what that means, but I have used this before. But this thing once on requires to be connected to your phone in order to unlock or lock it. And you can add times to it. Back when I had tried this out, but what happens if you lose the device, if you get logged out of the app, if your connection doesn't work?
What if you pair it to your parents' phone? By accident.
You'd have to have the app. So your mom would have to have the app. That's a whole other conversation. But even further, this company actually was reported to be hacked at one point.
See?
Now, I did my own sleuthing, and it happened to be somebody doing misinformation and starting a fake news to prove that you can make media run with certain stories, which is deceptive as fuck, but also using the kink community in a negative way.
Not only did Vice publish my fake story in full, it also went viral across the internet.
I would never trust this device, though.
Stop blinking. Does it mean it's locked permanently?
It blows up. And also, what happens if the battery dies?
Another good point. None of my stuff stays charged, ever.
That's the sound that you would make. So brief, I hope your chastity was brief. How did you get it off?
Yeah, that's a good question. If you couldn't connect, how do you get it? So that's the other thing. A lot of people do Bluetooth safe locks with key holders that put their key in, and that terrifies me, because what if their Bluetooth goes down?
You could probably break into it maybe some way, but
Into a safe?
again, this is hard fucking plastic. I've heard stories of Jaws of Life. I would never want that to be something I have to go through. Bolt has a wonderful tip that says, my advice to newbies is to opt for a smaller ring over a smaller cage. If having a little extra space in the cage allows you to wear a slightly smaller ring, that seems like a better long-term fit. Plus, it helps prevent a ball slipping through, which is as awful and painful as it sounds. It's true.
Yeah, I've been at the gym when I had a ball slippage and had to go all the way home with the cage hanging off of one ball. That is not fun.
Just have the key. Have a key on you if you're allowed, and your key holder is
You don't take
forgiving.
it to the gym with you?
I do.
Every time?
It's on my keys.
Oh.
I always have my keys with me.
I didn't think
Why would you not put your keys for your chastity?
Because it's frozen in my freezer.
Ginger Snail says, I had the split CB6000 thing happen, which the fact that that's a thing that people are aware of should tell you why certain plastics are not good for your body.
People who were large, see, it never happened to me because I'm not that large, but people that were large, when they got engorged, would literally
You're so small.
burst the
you're
plastic
so
apart.
small.
It was just like, boom.
So imagine, this is not only locked on with a padlock that's pretty secure, but if this splits, it's now trying to come back together on your skin.
Yeah.
And I've seen some bruising, I've seen some little pinches. It's not fun, it's not pleasurable, and it's definitely not comfy.
No.
On sizing, it's also important to line everything up as you get it in, where Joe says, see, I have this issue sometimes that I haven't been able to get past, and it's that I'm uncut, so the opening, the slit, and when you pee, you have this sharp edge that makes it difficult to pee. I've had this happen sometimes. They pee everywhere, or you can't pee properly, or you get that like pain of not being able to pee, but you're trying.
Well, especially in a cage, of course you've got bars going in front of your slit, so it's gonna go everywhere. So you have to sit down to pee.
Which is where King 3D, if you're gonna try them out, they actually are providing the free nether nudgers with those orders, which is this lovely little keychain device where you can actually nudge the skin back in place. As far as people with foreskin, when you look at King 3D, they actually do have a version of the King 3D Viper that does have a wider and longer hole here for anyone that needs it. Whereas the Cobra, one of their first designs,
has these lovely little bars, which if you line things up right, and especially if you have a PA, you can take the nether nudger and line it up perfectly and put your ring through these two holes, making you double locked.
because as Daddy says,
If you like it, you better put a ring on it, or through it, or around it, or all over.
let's get to step 2 of today's video. And step 2 is primarily going to focus on the person being locked, or the lock-e. Much like a marathon, you don't just start off trying to run the entire thing. You build up, you build that resistance, and also that comfort. Your body wants to get excited, and you have to train it that when this thing's on,
And once you successfully do those small little goals, you tell yourself, oh, I can do this. And then you can extend it to 3 days, and then a week. And then your body just kind of melts into it, and it becomes a part of you. So first, see if you can get through that first night, because sleeping is hard, or might not be. So in the middle of the night, you do become aroused, and that arousal is going to hurt the first few times.
take it off. Listen to your body. Let yourself get some sleep. You're not gonna be in a good mood to do chastity and have fun if you don't sleep through the night. And while locked up, you're gonna have a lot of frustration of the good and bad variety. It's a part of the BDSM dynamic of chastity.
So make sure that your frustration is the good one. Otherwise, you're not going to enjoy it.
For me, when I'm locked up, I am great at the gym. It helps me to really get into that mindset, which is where Teeter comes in and says, I was once doing RDLs at the gym.
What's an RDL?
What do you think an RDL is?
A few moments later.
Survey says an RDL is Romanian deadlifts. So the deadlift is...
You're deadlifting Romanians?
A deadlift is with a bar like this, you keep your back straight, you go down, and then when you come back up, kink.
Bend. And snap.
But if you're like Teeter, who a month ago had a barbell hit the metal cage, sometimes you might need to take a break. You don't realize how much sensitivity is down there.
Oh, I do. Especially if your cage is a little too large, then it's poking the top of your pants. and the pants brushing on it will...
I mean, some people like being locked up and you can kind of see the bulge a little bit in your tight shorts, but it's different when it gets smacked or hit or gets caught on something. So you gotta be careful with that. And even Sancha talks about some difficulty with ball size. Now, I believe most people have one ball that sits lower than the other pretty predominantly. Like which one, your left or right? Mine's left-handed. And Sancha says, I have different sized balls. I know everyone has, but I have a big difference.
Big. Huge.
So the line between small or too big is not that big, and I have a few ball slips every once in a while.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time.
You're gonna find the size that works for you, but even then your body, when it's really warm, sometimes gets super comfortable, or when you're really cold, you shrivel up. Sometimes it just takes a thicker ring here, which they also have options for, or you might even just be needing a spacer in between. And sometimes you have a cage that just needs a little bit of tightness around where it connects to either reduce pinching or reduce movement. And so King 3D has what's called O-rings, and they go on the ends of the pegs here. They're kind of like braces coverings. And when they're in place, it actually makes the connection of the head and the ring super tight and very secure.
It becomes part of your life.
It also becomes part of your body though in a lot of ways. When it fits, I can attest, when it fits, it feels like a second skin. You can go for a run or a marathon just fine when you are in the perfect Zen zone. And that also comes with how you wear it and what you're wearing with it. A really nicely fitted jock is important, as is the type of jock. And I do know a lot of people, they say their cage slips forward. Well, sometimes tying off like a shoestring or a strap around the edges here and wrapping it around the waist does help to keep it in place.
Yeah, well, and King 3D knew that, and they designed a whole ring that has a strap system with neoprene from Mr. S. Have you ever ridden a motorcycle or a horse while locked up? You rode me.
Okay, you can lead the horse to the joke, but they still won't get it.
Have you ridden a horse or ridden a motorcycle locked up? Let us know down in the comments.
Yes.
And again, most people will find that there's underball pain of some sort, and that is just using a cream or some sort of lubrication to make that area less dry.
You could use some coconut oil, some lotion. I use the King 3D and Leather Daddy Skin Co. cage cream. It works really well. But if you ever have issues as someone that's locked up, King 3D has a really good Reddit page where you can actually not only like swap stories and maybe even pieces, but get some really firsthand experiences from someone who might be going through the same thing you are.
And if it is an unbearable pain, then use something that is even more painful and it'll take your head off, like Ben Gay.
Get out. Leave. No, don't do that. Which brings us to step 3, the keyholder's dilemma. And just making connections. How do you find someone that is going to take your needs into consideration, but also lock you down?
Ooh, that's a kind of it's a balancing act, because if you're able to find a key holder, the key holder has a lot of responsibilities too, in that you can't just lock someone up and then forget about them.
And throw away the key, literally.
Well, yeah. They're going to be hornier than they've ever been in their lives. They're going to need a little bit of attention.
But what's in it for the key holder?
Having them hornier than they've ever been in their life and giving you attention.
Which is where communicating when you find someone to lock you up is really important. For instance, for Safekeeping says, I tried to make a holy trainer for my first long-term cage, but didn't understand how important it would be to remove it daily for cleaning. Ended up with skin infection and prevented me from locking up for a month, along with some pretty bad discomfort for a while. Lesson learned, hygiene is king.
I agree with that fully. That is actually why I stopped using the Holy Trainer, because as you can see, it's one round tube. So multiple days of this gets all sorts of filth trapped in it.
Which is where being in communication with your key holder and finding someone that is going to be understanding of needing to lock up and clean regularly is important. If you don't have a cage, it's easy to clean. But also where having those keys handy is important as well. Most King 3D, or at least internal locking systems, will have this tumbler here that comes with 2 keys. And if you're gonna be giving one of these to your key holder, we recommend keeping the other one in a safe spot that you can also get access to, whether that's freezing it in an ice cube, like the shopaholics out there and their credit cards.
Yeah, this is where you can have fun as the Dom and the key holder, because you do want the sub to keep a key on them in case of emergencies.
I always have it on my key ring that's literally next to my house keys.
But don't make it too easily accessible, like put it in a water bottle and keep it in the freezer. So they have to thaw it before they can use it out.
Odd that you know all of these tricks.
Or King 3D does make a key sleeve that you can put a number lock system on it. So you could report the number, and if that is broken for any reason, then the sub's in trouble.
And these number locks are wonderful and great. They work well. In fact, I saw the other day on social media an app-based system for tracking your chastity and like play, but it now has AI that can look at your number and provide support. And let me be very clear, while I'm all for keeping chastity subs accountable and trustworthy,
Why are you looking at me when you say that?
giving AI access to your number and controlling like your lockup is crazy.
Yeah, especially if it's Bluetooth.
Well, it's not Bluetooth. It's literally just an app system that like looks at the number and it's able to read it and be like, good job, you're still good. But still, don't trust AI with your bits, please.
And this is where some people do use Bluetooth safes to keep the key so that the sub can have access to it if it needs it.
As the key holder or the person that's the top or locking someone down, this is your moment to shine and be creative. I've seen boxes, I've seen putting stuff in ice cubes, but I really love the game of it all. Like people that make like spinnable wheels where you add or subtract, whether there's a demerit or a reward. Make it interesting and creative so that you are having fun creatively, but your sub is having fun being like, oh my God, I can't wait to see what happens next.
And this is the fun part for you because you can get them to do anything when they're locked up with the promise of being unlocked sometime.
But in that process, I'm someone who's locked up a lot of the times, who's also locking up other boys and having fun with them. That hierarchy kind of play can be really brain fucky for the person that's not only locked up by someone locked up, but there's also a camaraderie there. Like key holders who are also locked up themselves is just really fun. And as a sub who's usually trying to find some fun key holder play with my extracurriculars, this next story is not only horrifying, but a real experience of trying to find someone you can trust with your bits. And it comes from Deleted. And it goes on to say, not a full crazy horror story, but I was ghosted by a key holder. What happened was I had been talking to my quote unquote Dom at the time, and she wanted to be my key holder, which I was really excited about. But because of the pandemic, we were in a strict lockdown, so everybody was done online and over the phone. I had her FetLife account, her phone number, her address, and was also talking to other subs of hers, so I knew she was genuine, which is honestly, these are all good green flags thus far.
Yeah.
It goes on to say, anyways, I agreed to send her my key in the mail, and I mailed it off to her house, and in a few days she got it, but then not long after, she completely disappeared. All contact stopped. She blocked me, she blocked my profile on FetLife, blocked me on Kik, and she never offered to give my key back.
So this is what we're saying. Keep a key for emergencies. This would be the emergency.
Luckily, I had a spare key hidden away, so not all was lost. It's good to be realistic about not only choosing your key holder, because sometimes apparently these kinds of things happen, but knowing your key holder well enough, or at least having a backup should something go bad. Risk-aware, consensual kink.
And I have no idea what was going on in your relationship, but as a key holder, it is your responsibility to keep checking in. And if you no longer want to do it, give the key back.
If you're a key holder, it helps to put yourself in their shoes and be responsible, but also be very realistic about expectations. Yes, you want it to be hot and sexy and oh my God, degrading and so pent up, but make sure the person is still feeling like they're having a good time and they're enjoying the sensations. Much like a D&D DM.
You have an awesome responsibility. You are the horizontal and the vertical. You are
ebbing and flowing and making it challenging, but also working with your partner. Which brings us to the final step, which is just general best practices for locking up. How can you work together? Whether you're with someone or not, there's gonna be this synergy between your body and you, but also maybe you and your key holder.
Discuss your boundaries and goals.
Some people like to lock up to really help in the gym. Personally, that really motivates me, and it makes it so I'm not spending as much time doing, reading online of some salacious content. I really like Pup Vigor's take that says the biggest thing for me was learning a cleaning routine. Yes, an open cage concept. You can wash without really unlocking technically, but I never unlocked to clean. So now I do weekly cleanings for deep cleans and been so better. 1 year locked up total with good hygiene. Good for you. Also hygiene.
Yeah, cleaning is really important, especially for your health. I've had incidents where I wore my Carrera belt for too long without taking it off to clean. And because it's a metal tube, my junk got little sores on it from hitting the metal too long. You can make it a fun thing where your dom gives you 15 minutes to take your cage off, touching, and take a shower.
But maybe they're watching or degrading you as you do it.
Yeah.
Even with King 3D and other cages that are super open, you can still get some smelliness or some gunge here or there. And inside these parts, it's always good to clean out as well, because then the cage fits better and it locks together more firmly. But I'm always a proponent of like, unlocking does not mean you failed or you're cheating, so long as you're communicating and everyone's on the same page.
And if you've negotiated that with your dom, it's not really being unlocked. It's just taking it off for cleaning, which is part of the whole experience.
Because I find that you don't really understand the psychology of being locked up or even locking someone up without doing it. So when you finally come to terms with, oh gosh, I can't get off, or oh gosh, I'm now behind this, it can feel daunting and it can mess with you if you don't be realistic about your expectations.
So this is where check-ins are very important.
But also riding that fine line of how you want to be stimulated or teased. Some people like the check-ins constantly and being degraded by their dom. Other people love just showing it off on social media. There is this like sex worker who likes to bottom to Chastity player who likes to bottom pipeline. I see so many sex workers get into Chastity play and then that's their whole thing. Not only because it makes it easier as a bottom online to do content while locked up, you don't have to worry about a boner, but people find that perfect like space of always being horny and ready to play and also just leaking and having fun. It's a double-edged sword, but it's like this downward spiral of horniness that's also a lot of fun to get into.
Yeah, it's a mind trip that you're not able to use your junk, so you are being used another way.
Hot.
Yeah.
And in best practices, this next one's scary, but Captain Kink says, lock tumbler failure. Ended up taking a hacksaw to the padlock to release my boyfriend's junk, and carefully, because the device was expensive. Oh my God, the device is not as expensive as your boyfriend. All you need to do is put a little WD-40 if an internal lock ever gets stuck, or maybe even just a little lube, wiggle it, give it a second, breathe, wiggle it again, or even just adjust where the cage and the ring connect. Don't freak out. If all else fails, and for some reason those pins are not coming out of this tumbler lock, I have seen people use bobby pins or paper clips and putting that in there, wiggling, pushing up and down, and then trying the key, and it has been okay.
So don't call the fire department?
No, don't get the jaws of life unless you've like
Jaws of life.
royally messed up. And that's where no, there's actually a fifth step. I got you. Because as much as some of these mishaps might be a little, terrifying, this is step 5. What happens when everything goes perfectly well and good and right?
You get to come.
No. You get to have fun.
Oh.
And you get to have a wonderful connection with someone that builds not only your trust, but hopefully builds that horniness between the two of you and makes you both feel sexy. But I think we'll leave it at what 6foot Sub says, who says, despite these and others who have had mishaps, Chastity is still very fun and sexy and a major kink/turn on for me. Accidents and mishaps may happen, but if you listen to your body and trust your gut and don't give up, you can stay locked.
It's a challenge. It's a self-challenge. Can you do this? And you want to do this sometimes to please someone. And are you pleasing them? And there's so much to it.
That's the best place to leave today's episode, which is empowering you guys to try something new, getting engaged with Chastity, and maybe finding a key holder or just trying to lock up for a few hours at a time.
And remember, October has 31 days. It's the longest month of the year.
There's a lot of months have 31. Okay. But whether you're getting locked up or being someone's key holder, always have a safe word. Today's safe word is
Key party.
Do you remember key parties where your friends would come over, you put all the keys in a bowl,
Yeah.
and then you just make sure that nobody drives home yet?
So you get to decide which sub, depending on the key that you get.
I've been to parties like this where subs and doms, regardless of who's locking who and who's locked up, all put their keys in there, and then you have to find the key to the other person.
And that makes you a perfect match.
Let us know what kind of chastity device you have, if this is your first time, your third time, your 30th time doing Locktober.
And if you like ringing bells, put that bell on your chastity and let it jingle around.
So that everybody knows you're locked up. Ooh. And don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you all next time. Bye. And it doesn't even have to end after that. There's Locktober, No Nut November, Deny December, Dry January, No Fap February. March Madness.
March Madness. I think that's a different kink.
What's it? Gapril?
April. Maybe. Deny July.
Aw, guess when you have a third in the bedroom because you don't get to unlock because you're in the cut corner. And September when you are just subbing. You're September. And that's the whole year. So we hope that you're starting right this minute and you're a whole year of Chastity, right? Right, Daddy?
364 days. You got this.
Yeah. Where were your keys again? Sorry, I just needed to make sure
I
have
have
the same
40
ones.
pairs.
Okay,
so
well,
take
I got
whatever you
1,
want.
2. I just want to make sure I have all the keys, just
All
in
the
case.
keys.
Just in case. We can lock them up and destroy them.